Hey, this is Mo Lunsford at Union Grove Lumber Studios.
And this is the Shed Geek. We want to welcome you to today's episode. Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Shed Geek podcast. And so happy to have Woody on the show today. Woody, this is kind of going to be a little bit part of almost like a three-part series. We're doing three different podcasts today from the folks over at the Knowledge Gap, and we're going to put these out throughout the year. And excited to be partnering with you guys in a sales capacity, and I know that's one thing that you guys really focus on among the many things that you guys do. But I'll tell you what, why don't you take the time to introduce yourself to the listeners and a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks so much for having us on. We really appreciate it too. Just partnering with like-minded people is super important to us, and we know you guys over there at Shed Geek are like-minded. So thanks. Appreciate you. Yeah, my name is Woody. My first name's Nathan. I'm going to throw that out there for those who don't know. I don't go by Nathan. If you call me Nathan, I'll think like my wife or my mom are hollering at me. So don't call me Nathan. Last name's Woody. Go by Woody. And yeah, what do you want to know? Just a little bit about me.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about we'll get into it
I was on
deeper.
before and we talked a little bit. So if you've watched before, you might have seen my face, but
right.
Yeah. So I guess I'll tell you a little, did you want just like a little bit of history on me? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay. Cool. Like my jail records and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's
I'll get my mugshots out for
Tell
you.
me, yeah, when did you bond out exactly, Woody? We really want to know the truth. Yeah.
Yeah. So my my history is actually in a lot of years of food service management. So I managed Chick-fil-A's for a long time. And Chick-fil-A is actually my first job, believe it or not. And I had some time away in between when I went to college for my bachelor's degree, but grew up in the life of Chick-fil-A, managing stores, growing teams, leading people. And I would say a lot of foundation of, just my history, my experience is built on that. And Chick-fil-A is a fantastic company. I'm sure everybody listening to this has probably hopefully tried a chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A. Amazing food, but man, they are just amazing in the people business, and they create amazing systems, amazing products, and amazing leadership development. And so I kind of developed the knack for leading people, right? And for encouraging people and helping people get from point A to point B to point C to hopefully never hit Z, right? Never stop growing. And I just loved that. So I continued developing myself and developing others throughout my career. Ended up going to start a coffee chain called Scooters. I helped them launch. Do you have Scooters where you're from? Curious, Shannon.
We don't have them here, but I've seen them in my travels quite a bit.
Okay, they're
like
growing
because you're only about
fast.
5 hours away or so.
Right.
Yeah.
I think there's some in Nashville now.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're in Kentucky or not, but anyways, they were growing super fast, still are. They're one of the top coffee franchises. I think they're in like number 1 or number 2. And so helped them launch their Knoxville market and their Huntsville, Alabama market. Did hiring, recruiting, training, brought on teams, helped open up a few stores with them. And that was a short stint, kind of knew it was going to be on the front end, and ended up going and getting recruited to sell roofs door to door for another franchise called Mighty Dog Roofing. They're also one of the top roofing franchises, my brain just
top
broke. Fastest growing. Rewind. They're one of the fastest growing franchises. That's where we're going. Too many F's in there in the US. And so Knoxville was launching, and they got me about 6 months into being in existence. And I went and learned how to sell roofs door to door, which, man, so much of the experience of talking to people from Chick-fil-A, interviewing people, hiring people, working with leadership teams, like kind of knew how to talk to anyone. Didn't matter if you were in a $40,000 mobile home that needed a new roof or a $4 million lakeside house. Everybody, if they're treated with honor, dignity, and respect, like anybody can be sold to, anybody can be served well and helped. So man, loved it, was doing some crazy numbers. The guy was number 16 in the company nationwide. So I think that's like 500 plus sales guys. So that was really cool. Was number 1 in Knoxville over our franchise. the whole time I was with Mighty Dog. So just excelled at that, really enjoyed it, realized I was good at selling things, good with connecting to people on an emotional level. And so I ran into Joe, which if you guys have watched the episode before, Joe's been on a couple times, I think, one when he launched his book, and then last time us together. And Joe's just a likable dude. You just can get along with anybody. He's super engaging, really, powerful speaker, just kind of brings you in. And so I did a roof estimate for Joe, and he just needed a little repair. And I'll tell you guys the actual story. I don't tell many people. I gave him a quote that was just way too expensive. And I told him, I was like, man, you can get this done cheaper somewhere else. But I was having a wild month. I think I did like 215,000 in sales that month. And I was like, man, I just don't have time for this. I'm going to be honest with you. But I liked the guy, so I wanted to help him out, gave him some advice where to go. And we just randomly got coffee. We just decided, hey, let's go get to know each other a little bit better. We both got along well, had some similar interests. And so hung out with him in a coffee shop, and he's telling me about the knowledge gap and not really selling me on anything, right? Just telling me what he's doing in Knoxville, working with 60 plus businesses, making huge impacts, helping businesses scale, bringing them from here to here, with the leadership aspect as well intertwined into that. And I was like, man, that sounds like the part of my current job that I'm missing, right? Found out, hey, I'm really good at this. I was really good at the leadership development part from Chick-fil-A. And it seemed like a great opportunity to marry the two together and help others be successful. And so prayed about it, talked to the wife about it. I was like, hey, Joe, why don't you give me like the position description, and I'll let you know if I know anybody. Secretly, like that person was me. And so he sent me the position description, and we decided, hey, let's just do it. I'm a big proponent of not wasting time, and that's the impatient person coming out of me. My wife will tell you I'm a very impatient person, and I'm sure, man, my parents could attest to the same thing. And man, hopefully I can get past that before my daughter's 2. Hopefully I can get past that before she grows up.
My mom used to always say, don't pray for patience, right?
Yes.
Because the Lord will put you in positions where you have the opportunity to be patient. So, yeah.
So yeah, dove head first in, and have been here. Man, I don't know. My first week was our first podcast. Was that like a month ago?
Yeah.
So been here a month. Have brought on a few clients so far, a real estate agent, a fitness coach, and a landscaper. So helping them through the process of scaling their business, and, learning alongside Joe with all of his existing clients. And he's gotten a couple more too. So, man, it's just a blast.
Hello, shed sellers. Let's take a moment to discuss the shed customer and meeting their expectations. I remember growing up in the neighborhood where a certain percentage of the houses had well-manicured lawns and well-manicured homes. These were the type of individuals who felt it was important to purchase a well-constructed home or vehicle, or maybe equipment to help maintain the quality of the item. As shed manufacturers, we seek to provide a well-built quality shed. We want the customer to feel satisfied that their hard-earned money has been well spent on a product that will last. At LuxGuard, we believe adding high-quality rubber flooring to your line of sheds makes sense to the customer and adds value the customer can appreciate. With each year, sheds are becoming more complex. The customizations we are seeing are virtually endless. LuxGuard not only gives a complimentary aesthetic appearance for their shed, but also protects the floor from spills and keeps cleanup simple. Offer your customer the customer service they seek with LuxGuard. At LuxGuard, we are committed to delivering exceptional customer service and innovative products to help our customers achieve their goals. We strive to meet the evolving needs of the customers. To speak with one of our ready-to-serve customer product specialists, simply call 336-468-4311. To see our product and view an installation video, just visit our website at luxguard.com. LuxGuard, the floor that lasts a lifetime.
I definitely want to come back to the door-to-door roof sales at some point, but let's focus on the knowledge gap. So for those who are listening, sometimes there's just a disengagement that's kind of like, yeah, but what is it? I see it, or I see you promote it, Shannon, or I see you put it out there on social or something like that. what is it? Give me the 2 to 5 minute commercial. Like, what do you do? Who do you work with? And how do you help? Because like content's king. We were talking about that before we got on the air. And like, man, if we can create a really compelling and then like, there's a saying, communication's the key. Have you heard that, Woody?
Oh yeah.
And then I saw something recently that said comprehension's the key. It's one thing to communicate, it's another thing to get your message across so it's easily understood.
Yeah.
And I just want to make sure people understand what the knowledge gap is, who you are, what you do, how you help, who you work with, that kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah. And I don't know, man, my belief is that like you got to have a pocket full of keys, because once you get through one door, you're like, oh shoot, there's
Yeah,
another door.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so
I
I
hear
think
you.
that's something I've tried to apply is like, man, just have a pocket full of keys, and eventually you'll figure out the doors they go to, right?
Keep the pipeline full. I mean, like the
Yeah.
best piece of unsolicited free advice that I can give any salesperson out there is like most people don't all close in the same day, same week, same month, same year.
For sure.
Like we keep our pipeline full in every way, shape, and form, in every direction that you can sell, and then you got to be able to back it up, right? You got to be accountable to like being able to communicate with them effectively and be ready to take them on. But I mean, it doesn't matter what we're doing. We keep our pipeline full. So like that's those many keys. Your many
Yeah.
keys is my many people.
Man, speaking of pipeline being full, I had a guy, Sam Penna, who came on to Mighty Dog, and I trained him some of my last weeks there. And he called me today. He goes, Woody, I have a customer that you worked with, or you did an estimate for. I was like, he told me the name. I was like, yeah, I worked with them a year ago and gave him an estimate and followed up with them every few months. And he's like, well, I guess they're in the system again, and I'm supposed to help them out. I was like, perfect, man. And so he understood the essence of keeping the pipeline full. It's like, that was
Yes.
12 months ago. And
Yeah.
they were going through some issues, so they didn't pull the trigger. But yeah, pipeline full is important. So, okay, who is the knowledge gap? What do we do? How do we help? Is it just this mystic idea in the sky of, coaching, consulting? Who knows what that actually means, right?
Yeah. I want somebody to break that down at some point for me because there'll be 100 different answers with 100 different guests, right?
Yeah, that's right. You can ask Brandon and Josh, and you
Yeah,
should get a similar answer.
I'll do that.
So yeah, here at the Knowledge Gap, man, I would say the number one thing is just to know about us is we're here to help inspire others to do what inspires them. That's kind of at the core of each one of the consultants that Joe has. So Brandon, myself, and Josh, we really just want to help inspire people. So at the end of the day, if we've done that, I'd say we've accomplished our goal. Um, and the way we do that is we take businesses that are all over the spectrum. It doesn't really matter where you are, but what we find is that we have a lot of business owners that are starting to hit a plateau or a cap in their business, and they have areas that are knowledge gaps, right? That's the whole essence of how Joe got that name. Is there's knowledge gaps in everybody, and it's finding out from someone who may have gone through the experience already or has systems in place or can help implement systems to bridge those knowledge gaps. And so that's our whole goal is we take businesses, we do an analysis on them. We'll find that kind of the heartbeat or the health of the business, and then find out, hey, what do we need to put in place to help fix this, right? And so maybe that's the difference between coaching and consulting is we'll find the heartbeat. We'll find out, okay, do we need to be healthier in this area, this area, this area? Coaching would be, hey, here's how you do it. Here are the tools. Here's how we suggest doing it. You work on it. Come back. We're going to talk about it. We're going to perfect it. Consulting may be more of us doing it for you and walking you through it, right? So maybe just two separate ways to look at it. So yeah, we'll take customized solutions for a business. No two solutions have ever been the same. We've done 65 plus businesses so far and helped them in different ways. Man, I've looked through we're making like some data sheets of all the analysis and what we've done and what the results have been, which the results have been crazy, but no two have been the same. It's all been really customized. And so, yeah, that's our opportunity to sit down with someone, help them create systems, help them just add value to their business. We typically will start with mission, vision, values. We're strong believers that, hey, if you don't have a mission, if you don't have a vision, and you don't have values, or if you have them and they're not written down and displayed, it's a hard base to like start on. It's a hard foundation. Man, like a shed, right? Think about a shed in a muddy backyard. Man, if you don't have a good foundation, it may last a few weeks, it may last a couple of years, but 10 years down the road, it's probably going to be sunken in, sagging, not looking too good. It's the same thing with mission, vision, values for us. So does that help paint a little bit of a picture for you?
Absolutely. Well, we find that to be sort of a common point of discussion, it seems like, around many roundtables or many podcasts or many just private meetings, is like that identity. I like to use Simon Sinek's Find Your Why as a perfect example of like that foundational structure. He talks a lot about, finding your why, finding out like not how you do something, not what you do, but why do you do it? What makes you get up every morning? What drives you? What is your motivating factor? And I saw something today that said, two favorite parts of my job are lunch and when I go home. And I was like, oh man, like I know it's a joke, but I'm like, that's terrible. Like
that is terrible.
I would hate to feel that way 5 days a week or 6 days a week or whatever.
Although I do have some sushi sitting in that fridge over there that I'm pretty excited for. So.
Good segue.
2 days old though,
like
so we'll see. It's got a 50-50 on it right now.
Well, and it is Friday, totally so the weekend is fast approaching. So Friday. There is that. But I mean, Friday. In reality, like, do you love your job? Do you love your business?
Sure.
Are you passionate about what you do? All the typical sayings are there, like, find a job you love and you'll never work a day in your life. And that's true. But it seems like people are yearning for something deeper than that, like this meaning. And I'll always tell people, I'm faith forward. So I always start with, foundation of God and finding your purpose in God and what you're doing and how you can find your purpose in business. Mm-hmm. It's like part of what we do is like, we have to generate income for our families. They're our first ministry. So like, we have to generate income to take care of them. So like, how do you introduce ethics and purpose and things like that into your business? And then from there, you move out to like, what is the purpose and the soul of your business? Like, who are you helping? Why are you helping them? Why do you do what you do?
Hello from the Shed Geek. Let's take a walk through My Shed 3D. With My Shed 3D, your company can simply add a 3D builder button to its website. Once the customer clicks onto the 3D builder button, they will enter some basic information to get started. Remember, this information is captured in your Leads tab, whether or not the customer designs a building. This is very valuable information that turns a cold call into a warm lead. Next, they begin the design of their shed by selecting a primary use, a style, and a size that best fits their need. My Shed 3D has multiple styles that are available and consistent with traditional and barn styles within the shed industry. However, if you offer a customized or non-traditional style, My Shed Solutions can build that design for future use. We can also save on some design features that make it easy to adjust without a major rebuild or added fees for design changes. For instance, want to offer a steeper roof pitch? Just navigate to the Settings tab. Then click the Building Models. Click Edit Building and just enter the new roof center height, and the design changes will reflect on this style option. This will save you thousands versus traditional design changes that need to build a whole new style to match your design. From here, simply choose the style, siding, and color. Then choose a trim and roofing style and color. Next, let's add a door. That was goofy. Next, let's add a door. It is required to add a door to move forward with the design, as at least one ingress-egress option is necessary. Then add some design changes for personalization. Maybe some windows, or a porch, or some interior shelving. Next, just click Save Design and the customer will receive an automated text with all the features of the design to the email address entered at the beginning. From here, they can edit the design, view the details of the design, pay now to order the shed, or click Rent to Own to complete the necessary steps to purchase a shed they designed with My Shed 3D. The design enters the admin panel as a quote, and this is where the manufacturer can update the progress of the design once a deposit is taken. My Shed, from design to delivery, we have you covered.
Yeah, I actually, it's funny you're talking about purpose. I actually had the opportunity to teach at my church on a Sunday morning 2 or 3 weeks ago. And my sermon was on purpose and how, hey, as believers, right? I love Jesus. And so as believers, our purpose is to tell other people about Christ, right? And just talking about how our purpose is not necessarily what we do, it's how we do it. And that's how we act out our purpose. But yeah, purpose is such a fun topic. Get you fired up, right?
It does. It does.
Yeah, I think, man, let's expand about purpose and just talking about something that I've been working through recently. It's a workshop I'm going to be presenting so I can practice on you guys, right?
Okay, let's go.
Talking about the glue of business, and it's an acronym, right? G is get others bought in. L is love what you do. U is unify your time or your team, I'm sorry. And then E is empower others to win forever. And I put the forever part in there because I think it's super important. So, man, just getting others bought in. Like, I think about a business, and in order for you to have a good foundation and have a good, team setting, I think this glue is super important. So getting others bought in, it's huge for me at Chick-fil-A. Like, I was hiring teenagers to come work at a fast food restaurant, get greasy, sweaty, deal with chicken grease. Like, there's nasty stuff at Chick-fil-A. It's not a glamorous job most of the time, especially if you're in the kitchen. But you got others bought in, right? We got people excited in the kitchen, and we'd walk in and say, "Is everybody happy?" And the kitchen would shout, "Yeah, man, HAPPY, woo!" And that was just like a fun thing, right? And it's a little thing, but like creating buy-in. When you create that buy-in, it starts with mission, vision, values, right? That's the base of it. Why are people bought into you as a leader? Why are they bought into what you're doing? And if it's to make a lot of money, like, that only lasts for so long. If it's, hey, to be the best person that I can be to help people in our community, whatever you pick your mission, they can buy into that. It's something they care about. It's something they're emotionally connected to. And so we work really hard to like develop that with people. So that's the G, right? Get others bought in. Think about a football game, right? Man, I can think back actually. My wife Stephanie and I went to a UT football game when we first moved to Tennessee. I'm not a sports guy. It's just not me. I grew up playing instruments and, man, getting outdoors, but like sports isn't my thing. But I remember going to this football game, sitting in pretty decent seats that a friend had given us, and it was just a contagious atmosphere, right? And so by the end of the game, we were bought in. We were like, "Yeah, go Vols," right? And we were cheering and celebrating, and we won by a landslide, which was so fun. But it's the atmosphere that you're in that is created that really establishes buy-in. And so first, like, man, get bought into what you're doing, and then get your team bought in, and then love what you do, right? It's not the idea that you're necessarily going to have a great day every day, right? You just said something that reminded me of that is, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. It's work. Some days are going to be great. Some days might not be as great. But if you truly love what you do and understand the importance behind it, I call it bringing your own weather, right? So establishing that, hey, when I walk in the room, I got my own weather. I don't care what's going on. It's going to be sunny and 75, and people are going to know that. Other people I've heard say it. Actually, somebody famous said this. I don't know, you can look it up later, but it's being the thermostat, not the thermometer, right? Setting what's the temperature in the room right now. And so if you do that with your team, that's contagious too, right? And if you're somebody who's leading leaders, call the champion out of them and tell them, hey, we love what we do, and we're going to bring our own weather, and make that an expectation. I think that's super important in teams. Unify your team, right? The U of glue. If your team is not unified and after the same goal and encouraging each other and wanting everybody to be on the same page, man, the rest, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, because it does. But if your team's not unified, that creates separation somewhere along the line, whether it's at the beginning of somebody's employment.
I've seen it so many times.
Yeah. And so it's just tough, right? And consistently creating unity, because you can be unified. Think about like an old fence, right? I mean, I'm thinking about my fence in my backyard that's beat up right now. I nailed it in probably a year ago, and I go out there a couple days ago, and like it's starting to separate, it's starting to peel out. And so you have to consistently create unity, right? So I need to go back and nail that fence together. It's the same way with teams where, man, we need to make sure our teams are consistently unified. And yeah, it's work. Yeah, it's a job. Yeah, it takes time, but it's worth it. Because, man, if I didn't have my fence, my dog would be getting out, right? And it's the same thing with teams. Yeah. And then the E, man, the E is fun to talk about, empowering others to win forever. And I always talk about the forever part because empowering others to win in a moment is easy, right? Think about it, can empower you to win. That means you're giving them the tools, the resources, the knowledge, the training, whatever it requires to see them win. But then to win forever means you're changing the reward as time goes on, as your organization grows. And here at the Knowledge Gap, like we love scaling businesses. So we love seeing things get big quick. And that's hard for leaders to understand and business owners to understand that, like, hey, yeah, maybe your top leader is making 100,000 right now and their bonus structure is this. But hey, when your company grows to a 6, 7, 8, $10 million company, that expectation is going to change for the leader. And keeping them empowered to win forever is going to change. So yeah, I don't know, man. That was just a little acronym that's been super helpful for me as I formulate some thoughts. Getting into this, I'm going to be speaking at some real estate firms to agents and want to help equip them and empower them and inspire them to go lead their teams well. And so that's something that I'm going to be talking on. So would love to hear your thoughts, man.
I love it. I love that you've created the acronym GLUE because of that double entendre where like the glue is broke down into the acronym of like the beneficiaries, but then also glue literally is the stickiness that keeps us working together. So it kind of says something without yet going into it, yet getting others bought in. We had, I think I told you, I worked, intense customer service in the casino industry because it's just something that they do, they have to focus on a non-tangible item. And, we actually had a own it program. That was one of the things that, corporate had sort of passed down through the ranks was, to have a own it mentality. We had little coins, we had all kinds of stuff. They did all the bells and whistles and the fun stuff and things like that to really make you feel like it's buy-in. And, I know sometimes people say, a pizza party just doesn't cut it, guys. We need a little bit more. But those things are fun and they still matter. Some people don't really care about the attaboys or the attagirls, but for some people, they like that consistent praise of like just reassurance of knowing that they're doing a good job, right?
So when you're talking about those coins, like I don't know what that coin was or that system, but the times that I created the most buy-in is when you would give something to someone to own, right? You said just own it or whatever that coin said. So when I would give something for someone to own and say, hey, today for lunch, man, at Chick-fil-A, right? We'll keep going back to Chick-fil-A. You're going to be in control of this part of the business. And we would do this with, I'd do this with a 15-year-old team member who had been there 3 weeks, who just was out of training and they're still learning. Hey, you're going to own this part of the business. You're going to make sure that, I don't know, man, pick something. The ice cream machine, right? Stays clean and stocked and doesn't make the beeping sound all through lunch. That's going to be your thing to own. And so when you give somebody something to own, they're then bought in, right? So yeah, I don't know where that was going, but that's super important. When you own something, like you're truly bought in. I think about my first car. Man, I paid $500 for that thing, but I was going to take care of it. I owned it. Like I was bought into it.
Introducing ShedHub, your ultimate shed marketplace. Are you in the shed business and looking to connect with more buyers? Look no farther than ShedHub. ShedHub is a game-changing, two-sided marketplace that brings shed sellers and buyers together in one easy-to-use platform. Think of it as the Amazon of sheds. ShedHub isn't just any ordinary marketplace. It's a powerhouse that ranks on the first page of Google's search results in 91% of U.S. cities. With over 1.2 million impressions on our website last month alone, ShedHub is where you want to be to showcase your sheds to a wider audience. And here's the best part. For a limited time, you can join our exclusive Next 500 plan for just $39 per month. Simply head over to geek.shedhub.com to sign up and start attracting more shoppers to your shed listings. As the Shed Geek, I am here to endorse ShedHub and invite you to join me on this journey to boost your shed business. Whether you're struggling with website visibility or simply want more eyes on your product, ShedHub has got you covered. Don't miss out on this opportunity to supercharge your shed sales. Visit geek.shedhub.com today and make your mark in the shed industry with ShedHub.
Well, that's that newness of everything, and finally getting an opportunity of something you've expected the whole time or wanted the whole time, that you get a chance to do it. You want to do a good job, and then the new wears off. I mean, like, you see that with any new job, any new management situations. Even new friends. You begin to find friends, and you're kind of like, oh, I know them on this very substance basis. But as I begin to learn more about their trials and their frustrations or their successes, like, you learn about, like, that deepness of the individual that can't be taken back, because that's what pursuing that relationship does. What they were trying to get us to do with owning it was, if you just come here and it's just a job, like, we're not interested. We don't need someone to come in and work that's just like, oh, it's just a job, pays the bills. This is the 9 to 5, buys the groceries, that kind of thing. But instead, it was like, if somebody comes up and they're a customer and they're like, could you tell me how to get to the restroom? You're not like, yeah, just it's right down there past that machine, or you point or do this. You're like, yeah, just follow me, ma'am. And I'll, because if you owned it, you want to make sure that person has the best experience possible. Yeah. Now the alternative was always like, well, I might feel like I own it, but I'm not sharing in the profit here. So what's going on? You know what I mean? And that was always the challenge, was to try and, like, figure out how to get your team to feel. And I think they started a profit share at some point to where you could begin to buy in on different things, and you just had to create a system. But small business guys, like, some of the shed companies, we have a lot of consignment lots, that doesn't have ownership. The ownership they have is a 1099 private contractor agreement with them. So, for them, they might struggle with, like, how do I represent your product the most? I want you guys to dive into the shed industry so deep. It'd be so cool to just get feedback and hear about the situations and the people you're working with, to kind of get an experience of, like, what people feel like their ownership mentality is outside of their private individual lot, but rather feeling like part of the company, because it's all about will, if you ask me. That's why the Lord gives us free will. So, like, if I try to encourage you to do it and I'm constantly getting resistance, I either have to break through at some point. But man, there's something magic that happens when your will changes and you begin to, like, search for opportunities to find answers along with me instead of resistance.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, creating that culture inside of your company, that can be very difficult at times, Woody.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, culture, whew, man, that's a subject. We could have a separate podcast all about culture, right? But that's what it comes down to when you think about this analogy of glue that I just gave, or acronym. That's all it is. It's culture at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
That glue
So
determines your culture of your business.
leading others, did I get that right on the L?
Love what you do.
Love what you do. Okay.
But I like
I
leading
missed
others,
that
man.
one.
You want to switch
I've
it out?
got love. I do. I missed one.
Yeah,
So love
get
what
others bought
you,
in, love what you do, unify your team, and then empower others to win forever.
I've got the other three right, but so like love what you do. So how do you make a person enjoy it if they're a shed hauler or a shed manufacturer or even in shed sales or whatever it is, but they don't actually enjoy what they do? What's your advice to them?
Somebody that doesn't enjoy what they do. I mean, I guess I'd ask the question first of like, why are you in it? If you
Hmm.
if you hate what you
Yeah.
do, it's maybe a legitimate question to ask. If you can't ever see yourself enjoy what it is, like maybe it's not the right thing, but also maybe you're not looking at whatever the thing is correctly. Um, so I think of myself in roofing sales, like, man, knocking doors when I first started, did I enjoy the act of knocking on someone's door and having them tell me I was a solicitor? No, not really. It wasn't an enjoyable emotional experience. But did I enjoy the opportunity when I could knock a door, help a homeowner, and actually serve them well? Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's finding the aspect of it that you do enjoy. So maybe there's one small part of it that is enjoyable. I would say focus on that and grow that part. Uh, yeah,
So you said something or unifying your team, and you were talking, I think, during that part about bringing your own weather. I like
yeah.
that.
So I
You know,
stole
I
that from
used
my church. Just so if Austin Coleman runs up across this podcast, uh, yes, that is Austin Coleman's words. But I
we
took it to my teams at Chick-fil-A, and like I'm confident Chick-fil-A still uses that to this day.
Well, we used to have I used to bring my own smile, is what I
Yeah.
would say. So we would have every morning before they would call it buzz. Like you'd have a buzz before each shift. And they would be
Okay.
like, "What's buzz?" When new hires would show up, "What's buzz?" Well, buzz is like, "What's the buzz about? What's all the buzz? What's going on? What's all the
Yeah.
buzz?" You just get a bunch of people together before a shift and you were trying to motivate each other, talk about what the buzz is about. Like, "Hey, what's been happening in the last 24 hours? I haven't been here. I've been off for a weekend. This person's
Yeah.
been gone for 3 days on vacation. What's going on? Oh, these are the promotions that are going on. This is the way people are responding to it." Kind of getting the whole team buy-in.
Yeah.
We would play games. You know what I mean? We'd do two truths and a lie. We would do like
Uh,
bring little games and stuff like that. And it sounds sometimes it sounds kind of like, oh man, this is like generic. This is not fun. But I'll tell you what, even the most grumpy of attitudes typically when you brought your own weather, or as I would say, bring your own smile, secretly you'd be surprised at how much they would tell you they enjoyed it, or they would promote you or say like, man, that guy really does a good job behind the scenes, even if that's not my mentality, even if I don't really, like all the raw stuff. But I'd carry my own smile in my pocket because I'd say there's some days you come in and you just don't feel like it and you're getting ready to go out in front of people and basically perform at your job. And like as a salesperson, I would say that too. It's good to grab that smile out of your back pocket and throw it right on your face because
right.
I'm not asking you to be fake. I'm asking you to give the customer the best experience. And that's probably not your grumpy attitude or your frown.
Yeah. Yeah. I think another thing too is like as someone who loves Jesus and knows his goodness, like I've got joy, right? And man,
Yeah.
I hope that others that don't know him, like, man, if you can find anything else, find a way to just bring joy because joy supersedes happiness or sadness, right? And joy is like an internal hope and an internal like well that fills you. And so I'd say that's what I dig into a lot, and especially knocking doors, doing things that I didn't necessarily want to be doing. Like, hey, there's some joy inside of me, and so that's the part that I'm going to like bring that to my weather of the day. Uh, but yeah,
Yeah,
it goes
I
a long way.
I I still want to come back to that. I've got it wrote down. I haven't forgot. And then empowering others to win forever. I was talking to my son recently, and I was like, the key to anything that you do is like trying to take your time, vet it well, think about it thoroughly, don't make a fast decision,
Mm.
but then act. And whenever you act, put your everything into it.
Yeah,
Like that's the scary thing about like anybody trying something new. It's like anything that's new, you kind of go all in, but where is the stamina 2 years or 3 or 4 or 5 years in? That's why it's good to set realistic expectations as well too for your customer service, for your customers.
yeah,
Like because you want to be able to meet those demands. And I don't want to just be out here saying, "Oh, I can do this and do that," and then kind of fall short, right? Like, don't show up whenever the game really needs you,
We used to
and
say under promise, over deliver, right?
yeah. Well, we have had some, some of those conversations and
Yeah.
guilty verdicts, I guess you would say, in the shed industry, when we come out with, if there's a new software, a new process or something that comes out. And you know, think fast, move slow. It's
Yeah.
kind of been my mentality is like always try to, think fast, but then, you can get that whole paralysis by analysis, Woody, at some point. If you're not careful, you can think it through to the point where you miss the opportunity. I remember a joke. What was it? What was the joke? What was it, on The Pursuit of Happiness? Maybe was that it? You seen that with Will Smith? The little
I don't
boy
I
says,
don't think so.
little boy says, he's telling a joke or whatever, and it's like a guy on a boat out in the middle of the ocean, and somebody stops by and says, "Hey, do you need some help?" Or he's on an island or whatever it is. You need some help, and it's like, "No, God's gonna save me." And then like second person comes by and's like, "Do you need some help?" "No, God's gonna save me." And third person comes by, "No, God's gonna save me." And he ends up drowning, dies, goes to heaven, and he's questioning God, and he's like, "Well, I thought you was going to save me." And God was like, "I sent you three boats. What more did you want?" Like, we were sending you the opportunity, but like sometimes they don't always look like what you think they ought to look like.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if empowering others to win forever is a long-term play.
Digital Shed Builder is an online shed configurator that strives to provide incredible visual quality, fantastic customer service, and an amazingly low price point, making it a perfect fit for any shed dealer looking to increase their online sales. Digital Shed Builder is simple to use, taking less than 5 minutes to integrate on your site. The Get a Quote feature streamlines your sales process, showing you exactly what your potential customers need. They offer a highly customizable experience that accurately represents your brand and unique shed offerings, working with you directly to set up everything you need in a configurator. With no extra startup cost, no lengthy contracts or commitments, and no hidden fees, Digital Shed Builder has been created with quality, simplicity, and affordability in mind.
I think some of that too, that like is really important for business owners, is to reinvent continuously. And that was something that, man, I've just made that a part of my life, is like reinvent continuously. It may not be
Mm,
the same thing a year from now that makes us successful, right? Or it may not be the same thing a year from now that gets my team motivated and makes my team want to go sell or
yeah.
want to go serve people well. And so when you can reinvent continuously, it allows you to like reprocess what's important as a business owner. And that takes time and intentionality. And it takes time to sit down and like sit down somewhere quiet, go to a coffee shop, don't bring your
Yeah.
phone in, bring a notepad, go reinvent continuously and reflect and actually think about those things in depth. And it's hard for people. Like we're so engrossed in our phones. And I set screen time timers this week. I did not realize how much time I spent
Mm-hmm.
just wasting time on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but we get so distracted that it's hard to reinvent continuously. It's hard to reinvent at all sometimes. So I think when you can set time in your calendar aside, and I would say do it more than yearly, but you're going to see those things change year to year, right? But yeah, I think that's huge. Reinvent continuously if you're a business owner.
Man, I work off my schedule every day. Like I work off my calendar every day. I didn't used to be a calendar guy, a schedule guy, and I've learned the value in processes, and it's changed things for me big
Yep.
time to be able to juggle multiple opportunities and multiple adventures and things like that, and business opportunities. Um, because we all have the same amount of time in the same day.
Yeah, that's
We've
right.
all got 24 hours, so it's really about how you are able to manage your time. And I've unlocked a key in my own personal adventure, and that doesn't mean it's, going to work for you, but it's worked for me, and I work off my calendar daily, daily. I want to talk about door-to-door sales, and Joe done that. He was one of the most successful people ever to be able to be selling, and it sounds like you were doing a great job yourself. You know, there's obviously a negative connotation that sort of comes to mind whenever you think of like salesperson in general.
Yeah,
Then you think of like door-to-door sales and like all the Kirby vacuum
the
cleaners and all
worst.
the different stuff that people have done just sort of over the years.
Yeah,
I want to kind of talk about that experience because I've not seen anybody doing this in the shed industry specifically. And I just wonder how it would be welcomed. And I'm not saying that you're suggesting that they do it. I'm just curious
yeah,
about your experience and the ups and the downs of that.
yeah, man. There's so many ups and downs. I would say the biggest thing that helped me. Well, first off, I'd say number one, have a script. We're really big about having repeatable systems, right? Have a script that works. If it doesn't work, rewrite it. If you don't know where to start, come and talk to me, and like we'll write a script together for you. But that just helps you. Your goal is to get a yes or a no as quick as possible from a number standpoint. Your goal is also to show care for people so that they engage with you. And so I'd say write a script first off, but it's also just a numbers game, right? I knew that if I knocked 100 doors, that I could get 20 to 30 conversations depending on the day. And I could probably get on 2 to 5 roofs. So, okay, I know if I get 100 doors that I go knock, I can probably get on 5 roofs. And I can, I had a pretty good closing rate. I could probably close half of those or close to half of those, uh, assuming there was damage. It's a little different industry. There were some technicalities that had to be followed. So, hey, I knew all I got to do is keep knocking. And the mentality of no means next helped so much. It's like, okay, no just means next. It's not like a discouragement. It just means, okay, next one. Cool. It's perfect. Thank you. And so in a way, the faster you can get to that, the better. It's not to rush people. It's just to be respectful of people's time, serve people well. Um, so yeah, I guess those are maybe just like a brain spill of my thoughts on door knocking. It
So
wasn't my
what
favorite thing, I'll be honest. Joe loved it, dude, and he was good at it and he killed it. I was not bad at it, but where I thrived was in door knocking, building relationships, and then referrals. Like that was just
yeah.
bread and butter for me. But still did a ton of doors, man. It's just part of the
What do
business
you
for us.
what do you do? What do you do whenever somebody says, "Don't you think I would know if I wanted to buy a new roof? You don't have to come knock on my door."
Yeah.
Do you have any success stories where you're like, well, you may have damage though on your roof that you're not aware of, and we maybe can point that out. Like what approach would you take? I'm curious.
Yeah, I think you relate it to others' experiences. So I'd knocked a lot of neighborhoods that I'd worked in already, where I was doing current work in. And so you tell them, hey, totally understand. Jackie also didn't know she had damage, and we were able to just replace her whole roof under insurance. It would take me 10 minutes to just climb up there. Best case scenario, I can give you peace of mind. That's what everybody wants, right? So if you just let me up there 10 minutes, come back down, give you a good health report, give you peace of mind. Um, but yeah, would love to help you out with that. And most of the time, people were like, okay, yeah. Um, and we always ask the question of who have you had out to help you so far? And most of the time, people are like, oh, nobody or my brother. And so, have you had a licensed roofer up there in the last 4 months? These are the dates for storm damage. So there were things to help create the knowledge gap in customers. It's before I knew about the knowledge gap, but we were still using it. Help create opportunity for them to say they don't know the answer and then present a solution for them. Yeah.
Yeah, I got
It's
you.
fun. It's kind of like a game. It's it's kind of like a game, right? How can I help people most? And that had to be the mindset of like, man, how many people can I serve today? Because if it's how many doors can I knock, like, whew, that's boring. It's just not
Yeah.
fun. But if it's how many people can I actually serve today, it just changes your mindset a lot.
Hello, today we're going to take a look at IFAB's component saw system. So we're utilizing a DeWalt chop saw. We've put it on sliders, easily to adjust. We've automated it using pneumatics so that we can run all these saws together using one actuator. We can either actuate with a two-hand safety control here or a foot pedal. The two-hand safety control comes with board clamps here, so to clamp in your board so you're totally hands-free. We've got digital readout up here to find your angle as well as your length. So we have a 90-degree saw here for your super long angle cuts. We've also got a conveyor on this system to take away your cutoffs. This system is completely modular. We can add as many saws as you need. The rails can be as long as you need.
For more information, visit www.ifabllc.com.
Well, I certainly have enjoyed the conversations and the relationship with Joe. Love his book. Just ordered his book not too long ago. Can't wait to start reading it.
It's good. It's really good.
Yeah, I wanna dive into it a little bit. Definitely searching for some free time here lately. Opportunity's been good, but it also brings busyness, and I want to try and like prioritize. But it's really exciting because like we've talked about sort of launching a Shed Geek consultation leg for a long time, but it's like, well, what does that look like? And maybe it's not consultation, maybe it's business service, but the reality is I'm a much better connector than I am being in the trenches. So we've been lucky enough to connect with you guys at the Knowledge Gap. And not to take away from your podcast here today, but also our friend Allison Mullins over at Rep Methods. We've got about 3 others that we're vetting right now, because the goal is to try and like push you guys out to the shed industry if they're looking for those types of services, and let you guys close those deals. We just want to make the connections. So stay tuned to our socials. Please sign up for our newsletter. If you haven't already, just go to shedgeek.com and you can sign up for our newsletter. We have an episode that comes out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Susan, the Shed Gal, on Mondays, and myself on Wednesdays, and Sam Ambassador on Fridays. Susan's discussing a lot more about post frame and steel buildings and things of that nature. And Sam is, of course, talking about shed hauling and all the other logistical things that go along with it. But these guys are knowledgeable enough that they can sort of segue into any part of the industry. We've began to try to take a little bit more of a focus on sales and marketing to some extent, but also, again, still trying to reach all the industry. But it's fun to have the sales and marketing conversations. Through that, it brings relationships and conversations with friends like Woody here today at the Knowledge Gap, located in Knoxville, Tennessee. Again, working with over 60 plus companies in a consultative manner. Lots of success stories over there. I'm certain that you guys would welcome discovery calls or opportunities to speak. I know that one way they can find you is by simply going on our newsletter, clicking on one of the small digital ads down at the bottom of the newsletter. You can actually fill out a lead form, go at least get information, and not just on, honestly, not just on the Knowledge Gap. There's lots of businesses there that I encourage you guys to go to. And if you support the show, I ask you to support those who come on the show and then also advertise the show. Woody, how else can they reach you, man? How else should people get a hold of you if they want to do a call and just explore because they're not sure?
Yeah, I would also say too, like I would love to connect with some shed people coming from the roofing industry. Like there's a lot of similarities, providing some exterior protection in a way. So I just love to get to know some shed people and get into the industry. So even if you just want to call me and man, just tell me about what you do, tell me about what's going on in the business. I'm not going to charge you. I just want to get to know some people in your industry because I think you all are really special and have a really niche area you're working in. And I think my roofing background could be helpful in a lot of ways. So truthfully, best way to get a hold of me is just to call or send a text to my cell phone, which is 727-946-3345, and shoot me a text with your name so I pick up. I get a lot of spam calls. But I just love to chat on the phone, hear about your business, how it's going. And I'll talk to anybody.
Hey,
Yeah.
I love it, man. I'm looking forward to a long-term partnership with you guys. Hopefully, we can send some people your way who are looking for ways to optimize their business, just sort of take their business to the next level, which is, I think, ultimately what you guys want to provide. And Woody, it always happens so fast, man. We're coming up on the 50-minute mark, and it doesn't seem like a conversation is very hard to have for an hour. And I've said that for years. It's maybe I was born with the gift of gab. I don't think I was. I think it got developed through my sales and customer service relationships. But as before, I always give the guest the opportunity to take the microphone and ask any questions that you have. I'd ask you again, as I did before, do you have any questions for the Shed Geek, anything shed related, podcast related, life related, whatever you want to call it? You just become the host for a few questions, and I'll do my best to answer transparently.
I'm going to ask the hardest questions I can think of here.
Bring them on. Bring them on.
Man, I don't know. I guess one question I'm curious about, and you might have told it 100 times. How did you get connected in the shed industry? So you came from casinos. How did that connection originally happen?
Yeah, when I left the casino, it was after 10 years and I was at a loss. I was at a mental loss of like finding purpose, and called a good friend of mine who was a pastor who was a little different. We were rough whenever we were young growing up, and he became a pastor, and that really blew my mind.
Okay.
And he stayed with it, so that blew my mind even more because he really stuck the landing, and was like, this Jesus thing's real. And it was like, what, you kidding, that kind of thing. And he was working for a shed company, and I was probably at my bottom. And he said, man, come over here, maybe we can get you a job. And got me a job in purchasing.
Okay.
And then my faith began to develop and get stronger and deeper, and went to work at a faith-based drug and alcohol rehabilitation center, and then had another buddy who started a shed lot, or started working for a company. It was like, you want to start a shed lot? And it's like, yeah, I'm not doing anything. Let's start a shed lot.
Cool.
And that just worked. I dove into sales like I never dove into it before, began to call my quote unquote competitors, shake their hands. I'm still friends with many of them today.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say, hey man, I just want to actually go all in on something. Since I was struggling as a man, a husband, a provider, a father, all these things, to kind of go all in on something. I want to do that. I want to go all in on something. And I did, and started to realize after 3 shed lots, a truck, a trailer, that like, wait a minute, like sales and marketing is kind of the area that I seem to thrive in. Even if I'm not like well trained in it, well developed, I'm still learning different things. We have a marketing company. We're 35, almost 40 clients now plus in 9 months or 10 months. I think we're on our 9th client for rent to own. We weren't meaning to go out and like tackle these big projects. They've kind of been glass ceilings that have come our way. So the rest of it wrote itself. I don't know how many more glass ceilings there are to go. Again, we got this consultation, business service, whatever you want to call it, leg, where we're just trying to be a helper. Yeah. And I think there's so many business men and women and ideas out there that I just ignore. I don't ignore them. I'm saying these philosophies they have that's like, this is the way business works. You don't get to disrupt that. And I'm just like, man, the word says obedience is greater than sacrifice. So I just try to hear from the Lord and just follow his direction. And I do know the Zig Ziglar quote, you can have anything you want if you can help others get what they want. There's a lot of truth to that. So we spend a lot of time trying to educate and help others. And, there's times that we get educated ourselves and we get help ourselves, but just go in with a spirit of cooperation, man. And that's how I got started. But this is where I've landed. And I really love what I do every day, all day.
You can tell. You can definitely tell.
I appreciate it, man. It's been a blessing. It's the reason I keep God first is because I know that I owe him everything. And the minute I take him out of the equation, I'm left with just this shell of a person who doesn't know how to operate without a sovereign God who, created me and created all the opportunity.
Yeah.
So he gets first fruit on everything.
Yeah, that's good, man. Well, thanks for sharing. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you got it, man. I enjoyed having you on. I love your very calm, cool, collected like mentality. I feel like you're a great speaker, and I really feel like you just you put your the person across from you at ease just in your kindness in the way that you sort of approach conversations. So appreciate you too, man. And I'm wishing you lots and lots of luck. We'll stay connected
Yeah.
and we'll see where this thing goes. And I hope we're able to bring some leads your way for some
We'd love it.
businesses that are looking to optimize. I can't promise you anything, but I certainly hope that if people feel obligated to, that they would call.
Yeah. Appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Hey, this is Mo Lunsford in sunny Union Grove, North Carolina, and we want to say thank you to all the guests and listeners.